Tybee was still a very young girl, but the sweetness and kindness will always stand out in my mind. She was always there to help anyone who needed her. She knew what and how she wanted to be, and never let anyone or anything change her. She was always very religious, never would answer the phone on Saturday, nor ride in a car for sure. Shepsel used to peddle fruit and vegetables in a truck and come late in the afternoon. He'd leave the truck and come into our house to daven Maariv. Our neighbor, Mrs. Fruma, thought he would be a perfect match for Tybee and used to kid them about it.
I bought a little car and I peddled fruit, and one of the stops was at Tybee's house. And since she was the only one in Minneapolis that did not answer even the phone on Shabbos, so this was exactly what I was looking for. She looked beautiful. She had the long braids. She was a beautiful person, in and out. After I got Kabbalah on Shechita, and I started to learn to be a moil, so I decided, since my parents were in the chicken business, I decided that I'm going to stay in Minneapolis and pursue my career. And one thing I did, I opened up a little grocery store, and Tybee worked for me. And because things were rough in those days, I couldn't afford to pay her. So I decided it's cheaper that I would marry her. We got married at the Old Knesset in Israel. Tybee was a gorgeous bride. Somehow we managed, because Tybee was a good balabasta. She knew how to be thrifty.
Of course, Tybee was a tremendous help to her husband. She was always there, calming him down, helping him in the chicken business. Nothing, as I said before, nothing was too hard for her. She didn't use excuses why she can't do something. She could do what had to be done.
I wish that everybody would have a marriage like we had. It was we both worked for the same purpose.
In Minneapolis, my parents got very excited about starting a school. He was really the pioneer that got things going. They were finally able to start one in 1945 in the old Talmud Torah building.
I can still recall the time when the Torah Academy was first being formed, of the difficulties, resistance, and reluctance of the community to accept the idea of the full-day school for teaching of Judaism, where the youngsters can get a concentrated education in the religion and the knowledge of their rich and glorious heritage and contribute to civilization.
We're the only school outside of New York, one of the first schools outside of New York, Minneapolis. Besides the funds, it's hard to get children. Nobody wanted to experiment on them. Well, Tybee worked very hard because the school meant so much to her that there isn't anything that she wouldn't do.
She was amazing. My mother had so much energy. Came before the bake sale. She used to schlep 25 pounds, 25 bags of flour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, schlep them, bring them from the garage to the car. I don't know how she did it now. She had tremendous, she was such a strong woman, and she just did it all, never complained about how hard it was. My mother and her friends, when it came to the banquet, did all the cooking themselves. There were no elevators. They schlepped the food up to the second floor where they served the people, and at that time they could have had 150, 200 people. They worked so hard. She picked up all the Rummenschmidts from the station wagon. She went and, we used to have carnivals. My mother went to every business to get a little nothing to sell.
That was great Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice. But that's what she was all about. Self-sacrifice for Torah.
When I moved here to Minneapolis, of course, she said, Leah, we are in the Hamantaschen business and we need help. Of course, I said, I will come, I will try the best I can. One day I came to her house, I go to the basement and I see, so, what, Toby, you have a store here? I didn't know it. No, it was eggs and sugar prepared for the Hamantaschen. Then she dragged me into in another business. Leah, we have to go to Chodesh Elul to the cemetery. Over there, again, to make money for the school. Okay, so we went and we did. We had fun also here and there. One day comes a lady, but she said she can't see. Bobby said she can't see. So Leah, who is this lady? Who is this? Who was this? I didn't know them by myself. One day a lady comes and she said, hey, you didn't pay your dues yet. So Bobby, how did you recognize her? You can't see so well. Well, I recognize the voice. The happiest moment was for Tybee when we made money. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
She just worked for these several days from very early in the morning till late at night, and everything they made was given to the school, and this was one of the ways she had of raising money. And then when she'd gather enough money from that, to the bake sale and different things, and then she could bring into a check when the school really needed it, and that was her happiness.
You know, we hear every time somebody speaks about Tybee, they speak about Hamantaschen. And hopefully we have the recipe. And I once thought it would be very interesting to try to calculate over the years how many Hamantaschen were baked. But I think the thing we may not be able to count is how many millions and millions of hours of Torah study happened as a result of this woman.
Thousands of children were brought to Torah through Tybee Roberts. Not only her own children. And her children were all the children of the Twin Cities. An individual who touched thousands of lives. Everybody has their own personal Tybee anecdotes because she was a mother and grandmother to us all.
Everyone who knew Tybee felt that she was a family member.
One Shabbos I was just playing outside, and then Bobby Tybee just came going to shul, and then she asked me my name, and I said, Gitti, but not your granddaughter. So she said, what school do you go to? And I said, Torah Academy. And so she said, you must be my granddaughter, Gitti.
And I once asked Reb Shepsel, how is it that you have such extraordinary children? And I told him, I believe, since you take care of God's children, God takes care of your children. Since every one of God's children is one of your own, and Tybee would fight for every Jewish child, made no difference, connected, unconnected, disconnected, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously Jewish, she fought for that Jewish soul as if it was her own flesh and blood, because it was. When a righteous personality leaves a place, he or she leaves an indelible impression on that place. That there are right